In case you haven't noticed, we have a problem. Our planet is becoming increasingly contaminated with chemicals, not only from industry, but with chemicals added to our food supply. In addition to that, our kids are being hammered with vaccinations. When I was a kid, we only had a handful of vaccinations. So how many vaccinations do kids get today in 2017? Let's do a cursory search of Google and we learn that if you follow the CDC's recommended vaccination schedule, your child will receive 49 doses of 14 vaccines by the time she's 6 years of age. And by the age of 18, the CDC recommends that children should have gotten 69 doses of 16 vaccines. And that is dated November 3rd, 2011. And then another quick search, we come across this title and description. By June 2016, over 3.3 billion had been awarded for vaccine injuries and deaths. Clearly something's wrong. And over the last 30 years, there's been a massive increase in obesity, which can largely be put down to the demonization of traditional fats by the North American vegetable oil industry and coats with Big Pharma and their proposition that cholesterol is a mark of a heart disease. That got people onto a low-fat and a high-carb diet. And then there's the alarming increase in autism. A quick Google search reveals that 1 in 69 US children has an autism spectrum disorder, a 30% increase from 1 in 88 2 years ago. That's according to a new report released Thursday by the Centers for Disease Control Prevention. That was in March 28, 2014. Some reports state that the figure is 1 in 45. Also, we seem to be seeing an increase in gender identity issues. Perhaps the media coverage is just showing something that has always existed. And on the other hand, could it be related to the modern chemicalized diet? The junk food diet the West has consumed over the last 100 years has changed the racial form. The physical characteristics of traditional ethnic cultural groups are changing, and there's a blobbing out of the racial form. But more about that in a later video. So we have a chemicalized food supply, atmospheric pollution, an increase in radioactivity, vaccinations, and a marked increase in autism and obesity. And then we have the millennial snowflakes. There are many factors that play a part in this, but one important consideration that I think people overlook is that of diet. Now, I spent 15 years trying to be a vegetarian. I nearly died on a vegan diet, but believing that I had not done it right, I gave it another go until I learned that I needed to put aside my spiritual beliefs and give the body what it needs. During that period, I learned firsthand about food cravings that result from a nutrient-depleted diet. What I also noticed for myself and others around me was that we all became more emotionally sensitive. It wasn't unusual for some of my vegetarian vegan friends to complain that something was missing from their life. In retrospect, what was missing was nutrients, and too many of my friends suffered from emotional outbursts from anger to tears. Now think of the millennials, the peace-loving millennials, violently demonstrating in the streets. It makes you wonder that perhaps diet might play a small part in their behaviour. So now we have an increasing number of people disconnected from their food supply, not only disconnected from the food supply, but from the physical world as they retreat into the cyber world of mobile phone technology. I see young people jogging while talking into a mobile phone. Even when doing a physical exercise, they're living in their mind. Okay, so what do? Start by looking for counterexamples. So I think there's an agreement that the Hamish community in America has a lower rate of autism than the rest of the country. There are those who claim that the lower rate of autism is related to fewer vaccinations than the rest of the general American population. Yet, in an article on omicsgroup.org titled "The Science Behind the Absence of Autism in the Amish Community," energetic community by Rajalakshmi Kandaswamy, under the heading Biomedicine, it says, The more obvious biomedical basis for the absence of autism in the Amish community is the fact that throughout many centuries they have rigorously followed organic farming and have been consuming only organic produce grown mostly on their own farms by themselves. Their food is therefore pesticide-free and is consistently sustained as such over many generations, and the Amish continue to maintain the same till today. And on CNBC.com there's an article with the title, "Government Decides to Ban GMO Food Production in Russia, Deputy PM." It's dated 23rd September 2015. A senior Russian government member told reporters the cabinet decided that any food production in the country will completely exclude any genetically modified organisms or parts thereof. As far as genetically modified organisms are concerned, we have made a decision not to use any GMO in food productions, Deputy PM Arkady Dvorkovich said at an international conference on biotechnology in the Russian city of Kirov. And on the topic of organic food, an article at sustainablepulse.com states that the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, has told the Russian parliament that Russia should become the world's largest supplier of organic foods. Now we get to Dr Weston A Price. We sometimes hear the statement that farmers are down-to-earth people. So what do down-to-earth people look like? Funny you should ask that, Abby. Back in 1939, an American dentist by the name Dr Weston A Price wanted to find a solution to tooth decay. So he travelled the world to study the health of isolated groups of people living on a traditional diet. And he compared them with people of the same racial stock living on the foods of commerce, what we now call supermarket food, junk food. He studied people in sequestered villages in Switzerland, Gaelic communities in the Outer Hebrides, Eskimos and Indians of North America, Melanesian and Polynesian South Sea Islanders, African tribes, Australian Aborigines, New Zealand Maori, and the Indians of South America. What he found was compelling. Those people living on a traditional diet had less than 1% tooth decay and did not suffer from degenerative diseases like cancer or heart disease. The women had no difficulty in childbirth, and members of the group were not only well proportioned, but shared similar physical and facial features. That means that brothers and sisters look like brothers and sisters. They look like their parents, and they look like their cousins. Sadly today, so many children don't even look like their parents, let alone their siblings. If you want to improve your health and bring up strong, healthy children, then one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is to copy the diet of a traditional group. One place to start is look around for people who are well proportioned and have a nice jawline with a great set of teeth. Then ask them what they ate as a child and ask them if they know what their parents ate. Sometimes you have to persevere. I asked a Brazilian woman in a health food shop what she ate as a child. She gave me a list of foods and then she said, funny stuff. I asked her what she meant and she looked a little embarrassed and said, organ meat. If you ask around, you'll find that every healthy traditional group ate head to toe. So what do we need to do? The first step could be to get people off their mobile phones and get their hands in the dirt. There are many benefits to a farm life. After the Vietnam War, I had a conversation with a vet who worked at a support centre for Vietnam vets, and he told me that the boys who came back from the country suffered less PTSD type problems after the war than did city kids. If you live in the city, you might not have much space to grow food or farm animals. So what could you do? What could you do to get more connected with the environment? Why not take every opportunity to grow something? Let's say you buy a pineapple. So cut off the head and plant it somewhere. I met a couple of guys, husband and wife, at the Gold Coast organic markets. And they plant pineapple down the centre of the median strip on highways around the Gold Coast. My father, he planted tens of thousands of trees alongside highways in Perth. And most nearly every place I've lived, I've left behind some plants and trees. And years later, I drive past just to see the health of the trees. So some seeds you can plant directly into the ground, like avocado, mango, and papaya. Other seeds you may need to dry first. Sometimes the fruit or vegetable needs to be ripe before the seeds will grow, but you learn by trial and error. So just think of the foods you buy that contain seeds. So you get simple ones like watermelon, rockmelon, pumpkin, tomatoes, zucchini, and those types of things. And then there's oranges, lemons, apples, and all the stone fruits. Now, some of these plants and trees might not grow well in your climate. Okay? And there are other considerations too in growing really good fruit trees. But you learn as you go along. If you buy your fruit and veggies from a certified organic grower, then you know that you're starting with a good seed stock. Now, when I was a kid, I'd take an empty baked bean tin and I'd knock down the edges with a hammer. I'd punch some drain holes in the bottom with a nail, fill it with soil, and I'd plant a cutting or some seeds. I was brought up on a market garden on a farm, so I learned a lot of that from my parents. But anyway, what you can do, you can use tins, you can use plastic containers, you can use foam and paper cups. Just throw in some soil. Doesn't have to be the best soil, just throw in some soil, some dirt, plant a cutting or some seeds. And as I said before, you don't even need to buy the seeds. The important thing is to collect your own and to experiment. So this is how you learn. So if you have any comments or suggestions for topics that you would like covered, please leave them in the comments box below. Please like and subscribe to my channel. And I'd really appreciate it if you could send me a couple of dollars on Patreon to help cover the cost of production. All the best to you, and I'll see you soon. Please take a moment to like and subscribe, remembering to click on the bell. Then check the comments box below to join our team of patrons and crew. Once again, thanks, and all the best to you.